Welcome everyone to once again another episode of Lorerriors. I am your one of your co-hosts, Eli, and this is,
I'm Neil.
and together we're going to discuss one of the most important characters in Warhammer, Sigmar.
I have been looking forward to this. I've heard so many things, especially from like the characters in Vermintide.
All right, so we're going to start off from the beginning for of fantasy, skip through the end times, and then discuss a bit about the Age of Sigmar at the end.
Cool.
All right, so Sigmar was born to the Umberogan tribe in the imperial year of -30. Spoiler alert.
That is pretty early on.
Yeah, -30 IC of the imperial calendar of the empire he built, by the way. The empire quite literally has Sigmar's birth and well, the rising of, the birth of the empire was such a ginormous thing for the empire that they literally based their calendar on it.
Mm-hmm. Based, kind of like,
So,
Jesus.
I yeah, I just find the entire thing hilarious. But yeah, the thing about Sigmar's birth is like his birth was he was born like in a violent time. This was when humanity was basically a bunch of Bronze Age savages.
Mm-hmm.
Orcs were running wild, and the dwarves were collectively shitting their pants because the greenskins and the Skavens and the goblins were tearing apart their kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
The elves just got done with their civil war. This probably would have been like the extinction of humanity because but stuff intervened to at least save the humans of the old world.
Mm-hmm.
So when Sigmar was born, he was born under the I think the twin-tailed comet was roaring in the sky when during his birth, but he was born in the middle of an orc attack that his mother did not survive, but he did because she got hacked apart by orcs while she was giving birth to him, but he managed to pop out still.
That's pretty violent.
Yeah, he was born as the prince of the local chieftains of the Umberogans. And what separated from a lot of the other chieftains is his immense love of civilization. Dude basically saw like, yeah, I'm a prince, but I'm a prince of what? A bunch of hamlets, some nice dirt houses? No, 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 no. Humanity deserves better than this. We can be better than this. So he set out on the goal that would take up the most of his natural life, creating the Empire of Man, a unified empire of humanity.
He started
His
playing Civilization.
essentially, yeah, Civilization, Total Warhammer, starting in the Umberogan tribe is basically situated where the Reichland is in Total
Mm-hmm.
Warhammer, aka the starting spot of the Empire. But yeah,
Gotcha.
Sigmar had all the troubles a young barbarian had to deal with, defeating other tribes, defeating marauding greenskins, until one day his father died after there was like a big Norskin attack
Mm-hmm.
for like Chaos Waste like just sent down some a lot of guys, but
Mm-hmm.
Sigmar being Sigmar wiped out and this is what exactly around the time he decided, you know what? I'm tired of all this stuff. I am tired of all these chaos guys, orc guys. So he started rallying up everybody, trying to unite the empire. Some by force, some by negotiation. He even slept with a chiefess of one tribe. She's like, "Damn, you fine." And he's like, "Yes, I know. I'm Sigmar." And she's like, "All right, I'll do this United Empire of Man thing, but you got to sleep with me first." He's like, "Fine." But
If you insist.
the funny thing is, he actually didn't want to because the love of his life earlier in his life had died, and he was
Sad
super loyal.
Sigmar.
Yeah. So Sigmar, even in death, was loyal to her. He's like, "Fine, for the Empire only. I'm sure she wouldn't mind." Fucking hate this. All right, prepare for the best. Back, prepare for your back to get blown out. That women for generations after will be jealous.
Good lord.
Yeah. So that was all fun. But another important part of Sigmar's tale is the Warhammer he has. He got that when he was 15 because while he was roaming, like scouting around one day hunting for food, he saw some orcs. They were just like they had captured a bunch of dwarves. Unbeknownst to Sigmar, because he wanted to help the guys and he hated orcs, he found out, oh wait, that's the dwarf high king. He didn't know that when he was saving him, but it's like big shot. The dwarf High King got captured by a bunch of orcs, and they were like, I think, discussing how they were gonna eat him. Because Sigmar came in like killing orcs with like his bronze age weaponry.
Hmm.
The dwarven High King literally broke out of his restraints and saw this 15-year-old human just boxing the orc war boss. And he's like, man, if he had a better weapon, he could probably win. And he's like, wait a minute. So he grabs his hammer, Galmaraz, the signature warhammer that all Warhammer is based off, tosses it to Sigmar and says, hey, kid, catch. Sigmar's like, damn, this thing is awesome. So he just starts going full Sauron on the orcs at that point after he caves in the war boss's skull
Hmm.
with like one blow with Galmaraz. Sigmar's like, man, this hammer is awesome. But he's like, but it isn't mine. Hey, High King, here's your hammer back. High King goes, nah, 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 dude. You earned that hammer. The hammer chooses who it wants it to wield. And I think it's always been waiting for you. Keep it. And then Sigmar's like, dope. And then, they basically become friends. They like say, yeah, I'm trying to unite human realm. And, so we can fight off of the green skin. It's like, well, if you can do that, the dwarves would like you guys as allies. But Sigmar's like, bet, I'll start working on that right away.
Best friendo.
Weirdly enough, the High King was not like, yeah, sure, you go do that. I'm sure you have a chance. But,
Hmm.
basically that's the start of the Empire's eternal friendship with the dwarves. So that was pretty nice of him.
That is pretty cool.
So what happened here is after Sigmar got through uniting all the tribes and all the wacky ways he had to, you know,
Hmm.
unite them, sleeping with somebody, beating the crap out of others. After he basically managed to wrangle the entirety of the tribes, except the Bretons, they decided, nah, screw your united empire, man. We're gonna do our own thing, and we're gonna deal the greenskins ourselves. Spoiler alert: these are the Proto-Bretonians.
Hmm.
But yeah, they refused to join the empire, and a lot of other human nations were like, yeah, we're not joining the empire because you're too far. You know, we're not gonna bother.
Makes
The
sense.
Empire's like, you'll Empire at this stage. Well, the Proto Empire was like, you'll join us in time. It's our divine destiny to rule over all mankind and save it from all the threats that are fighting us. And they're like, yeah, you tell yourselves that. So, during the peak of the Dwarven Fall and basically the rise of the Empire, there was the battle called the Battle of Blackfire Pass, considered one of the largest wars in Imperial history. But Sigmar
So
had
this was
to
an orc war.
yeah,
Okay.
Norqua, massive in scope. This would have destroyed, wiped out the remaining hulls of the dwarves and the Proto Empire, and basically all the humans of the old world had it gotten through the pass. So Sigmar basically like marched all of the collected tribes into one unified army to fight against the orcs at the because at the pass their numbers wouldn't matter as much as long as they
Hmm.
can bottle them there. And the dwarves were already holding the pass, so they were just acting as reinforcements.
Yep.
The Empire manages to actually hold the line and stand up and rally, and the dwarves are like, "Huh, I guess these humans aren't worthless after all. They're not complete savages. They can stand up against greenskins." So they're becoming buddies after that fight. And right at the peak of the battle, Sigmar spots the war boss, and he just goes in.
Hmm.
Like this was like a massive war boss. But as as things tend to happen with Sigmar, he beats the ever loving crap out of everything between him and his objective. After the victory, the dwarves basically said, "Yeah, this seals the deal. This is the eternal friendship between dwarf and man." And Empire's like, "Dope." And he's like, "Yeah, the dwarves are so thankful they built like 12 or 13 Runefang swords, which are super well done, like enchanted swords,
Hmm.
like maxed out stats, everything, the works. Each one takes like hundreds of years to make."
Hmm.
And it's
So they
funny
just
too.
dedicated a bunch of new ones to him, or
Yeah,
is he
exactly.
living
Well,
for hundreds of years?
no, 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 just a nuance to his empire. Sigmar, I think, got like, and his people only got one in his lifetime.
Okay.
So, but yeah, after they got all the well, eventually they got all the swords. Some of them
Hmm.
got lost because of fight. He handed them off to his basically the chieftains of the tribes, since he already had Galmaraz
I
as
gotcha.
as badges of office. This is
Mm-hmm.
also another showing of how close the dwarves had come to like Sigmar, because dwarves don't make swords. To the dwarves, a sword's a loser weapon, because
Mm-hmm.
what can you do with a sword when you're not fighting with it? Nothing. With the hammer, you can use that for other craftsmanship and building. There's a purpose behind it after the fighting's done. An axe helps you chop down wood. So there's not like, unless it's a gun, there's not a single dwarf weapon that doesn't have a secondary purpose.
I guess, but like, Warhammer made for fighting isn't gonna be that useful in hammering nails.
It's more of the cultural
I
significance.
get it. I get it. I get it.
They just don't take kindly to swords and view other
I
weapons
see.
as superior, which they're not technically wrong. The
No.
sword is, but yeah. So they made the swords to signify their friendship. Also, they started allowing colonies of dwarves in the human lands, and they started teaching the you know the proto empire how to build, how craftsmanship works, how to. They boosted them from Bronze Age all the way to
Mm-hmm.
iron and stuff,
Yep.
and help them tech advance. So after the empire managed to defeat that empire, Sigmar got crowned as the emperor of the new empire, which he had to deal with two more major threats in his life. He had to deal with another invasion of chaos, massive one led by a demon prince from the north,
Mm-hmm.
but he managed yet again to beat the crap out of them and then go up north and genocide them and then come back.
As you do.
Yeah, he got so bitter about Norsemen because he genocided them twice at this point. I kind of glossed over it earlier, but he genocided them the first time they invaded when they killed his father, to the
Uh-huh.
point where the Norse guy, the Norski as they were called, became the Norskins, and they swore eternal hatred on the Empire because originally Sigmar wanted them to join his empire, but he saw, oh wait, you're so chaosified, there's no point. I'm just gonna slaughter you. And like when I mean slaughter, I mean he went for women and children.
Yeah.
He was not satisfied unless he got complete and utter extermination.
I gotcha.
But yeah, we don't know much about the time about this second chaos invasion. All we know is it was led by a ever chosen, chaos ever chosen.
Mm-hmm. Like
So
Archaon.
pretty big deal. Yeah, exactly. The one before Archaon.
I see.
So Sigmar managed to defeat it, and then because apparently the Chaos God saw a threat in Sigmar and wanted to wipe him out. But then Nagash showed up, as he tends to do.
This guy again, huh?
Yeah, after Sigmar basically went down south and battered some, he found this dusty old tomb and found this cool crown in it. This magical crown. Turns out it was the crown of Nagash. And it started tempting him and being like making him evil and stuff. But then eventually Nagash resurrected and started bringing back his vampire generals and everything to basically say, I want my crown back.
Mm-hmm.
Sigmar's like, you can't have it. I found it first. He's like, I made it.
Dibs.
And then, yeah, exactly. Sigmar called dibs on it. After they basically had a fighting, Sigmar at this point was also like had gotten really good at killing stuff, even better as time went on, apparently, because he started whacking. Because he at one point in the final battle against Nagash, he was just thwacking vampires aside. Vampires are supposed to do thwacking on humans, not the other way around. Like
Gotcha.
Sigmar was
Is
literally
there a
going.
is there like a
Yeah,
source of his power at this point, or is he just like built different?
it's the hammer.
Okay, I gotcha.
Because the way that Galmaraz works is like one of the most powerful weapons in the Warhammer world. Period.
Mm-hmm.
That thing, like, just hits hard like a truck. It's super light. Bunch of other enchantments on it that I don't remember at the moment, but like that thing is like maxed out end game tier weapon that he got at 15, and he just got better at using it as he got older.
Very nice.
So it's in fact there's some rumors that the way that it was built, it was one of the dwarven ancestor gods who made that weapon.
Hmm.
So it's literally a divine weapon that Sigmar got,
Gotcha.
that the dwarven high king just gave to him because he saved his life.
Understandable.
But yeah, so after during Nagash and Sigmar's final battle, Nagash gave him a vision to Sigmar saying, look into the future, buddy. I'm showing you the future. See, in the future, people will be shouting your name as you because they'll think you're a god. They'll be carrying around dwarven thunder staves and aka guns. And then there'll be and it'll be an era of stagnation. There'll be, humanity will die out if you just submit, become my number two, and the death will allow an era of peace. Sigmar was like, hell no, you're saying my era would become an era of stagnation? You're dead. There would be literal no change if everybody was dead. And then Sigmar Nagash was like, all right then, let's scrap.
It was a poor
So that,
argument.
yeah, it was a poor argument indeed. But during the fight, Sigmar had to wear Nagash's crown to draw Nagash and also to evade all of Nagash's super death magic because,
Hmm.
Nagash is still Nagash and even with Maraz, would rip him apart if that was his only protection.
Hmm.
But Sigmar basically does the ultimate bait and switch on Nagash to win the fight. He's like, takes off the crown. It's like, here, you want it? And Nagash was so yeah, I want it.
Hyper
He
focused.
goes for, yeah, hyper focused on it. He actually goes for it. And Sigmar's like, all right. And then his hammer lights up and he slams it into Nagash's chest, banishing him. During the middle of the fight, all the vampires were like, shit, Nagash might actually win this, and we don't even want Nagash to win this. So they just dipped, making sure that Sigmar's maybe victory would become a probable victory.
Hmm.
So Nagash was so utterly mad about his vampires ditching him in the middle of the fight, he cursed them to forever be weak to Sigmar's and his people's magic, aka Sigmar's holy magic and symbols,
Hmm.
as basically a way to give him the middle finger after his death. So Nagash was banished. Sigmar sealed up the crown, and then they set up the witch hunters to basically hunt down necromancers and stuff for
Nice.
basically just stop the undead proactively, then rather than wait for Nagash to ruin the empire.
Hmm. And at this point, was Sigmar being worshipped by people, or?
No, he was just considered an absolute lad.
Gotcha.
But at this point, Sigmar, this is speeding through 30 years of his life already. He's probably in his 40s now.
Hmm.
So at this point he's been reigning for after Nagash, we'll do a time skip about 15 years. After 15 years of Sigmar reigning the empire, he is like, man, I did a good job. He puts his crown aside, takes his hammer, and walks towards the World Edge Mountains, aka the mountains that the dwarves live. And it's said that right before he goes through the same pass that he stopped to defeat the orcs, he looks back and he just sees a bunch of roads, cities, forests that were used to be filled with beastmen being cleared for new homes and a peaceful and prosperous empire. And he just leaves with a smile on his face and just heads off to the World's Edge Mountains, never to be seen again. And then
Hmm.
apparently, this is where the end times comes in. After he pops out, but we don't know if he ever met the dwarves, but we know that after he passed off into legend from Leing, apparently Sigmar got raised to godhood in that moment and was trapped in the great vortex that the elves use.
Hmm.
Yeah, Tzeentch just trapped him in a magical vortex because Sigmar had apparently rise to godhood somehow at
Huh.
that moment. It doesn't make much sense, but
It's a little
point is,
dubious.
yeah, that'll happen a lot with the end times lore.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's the moment basically despite the fact that no one worshipped him at that point. But
Gotcha.
yeah,
That's kind of
at
weird
this,
because isn't in Warhammer, isn't there like the warp, or is that in just
yeah,
40K?
nope, the warp works here too, but
So he
it's like
he, he
he
got
just had
promoted without
to godhood.
any worship, which is kind
Exactly.
of goes against the grain in that universe, doesn't it?
It does 100%, but like I said, it's end times. It doesn't make
Hmm.
any sense. I
Okay.
don't ask you to. I won't even try to justify it.
No, it's just questioning.
Because basically what happened before end times, it was always dubious whether Sigmar was a god at all,
Hmm. Okay.
or whether
So it
he
was
became a
up to
god after
interpretation.
his death. Yeah, it used to be massively up into interpretation. That's why Corellian was
Hmm.
in Vermintide's always oh, this Sigmar thing might actually be a god. We thought you humans were just taking the piss.
That's funny.
So basically, the way it used to work was, oh, Sigmar faded off. He might have died. He might have went off to live with the dwarves. Nobody really knows. But what happened after he disappeared? He he basically had a massive fan community. Like people loved him. People told bedtime stories about him.
I mean, he united the world of men, so that totally makes
Yeah,
sense. By the way, who did he leave in charge of the Empire?
no one,
He didn't even have a son?
no heirs. He was very loyal to the love of his life at a young age. No, no, no. This is where it comes surprising.
Okay.
You would mostly suspect that all the new chieftains, or what they were, or the counts, as they were known now, because they were no longer so lowly as to be mere chieftains.
hmm
They all started squabbling, saying, "I deserve to be emperor." Well, Sigmar one time rubbed my belly and said I was the prettiest guy around, so I deserve emperor. And they're like, "No, he tickled my tummy." All right, and then they're like, somebody's like, snap, clap, clap, and said, "All right, instead of all killing each other for the crown, let's just vote on it." And everybody's like, "Wait, we can do that?" It's like, "Yeah, we'll just vote on who gets to become the new emperor."
Guys, you're forgetting democracy exists.
And they're like, the elected council all looked at each other, like, "Fine, we accept this idea. We will not kill each other and go to war yet." So
hmm
surprisingly, they actually managed to vote. History really doesn't remember the guy after Sigmar who became emperor after Sigmar. It was one of those counts.
Okay.
But peacefully, it established the transfer of power. So now, whenever an emperor dies, he then becomes, they all go around and vote for the new the new empire, the emperor.
So that's where the elector counts come in.
Exactly. That's every county has its elector count that gets one vote. The Church of Sigmar would eventually get 3 votes, and the Church of Ulrich, this is the god that Sigmar worshipped in his life, got 2 votes.
Gotcha.
Which is funny because Ulrich worship used to be the de facto in the old world, at least where
hmm
Sigmar was. But with the worship of Sigmar kind of supplanted it
hmm
and got so powerful that it just started ousting the Church of the Cult of Ulrich, despite the very god. Uh, Sigmar was worshiping Ulrich.
Yeah, that is interesting. But before we go any further, I did have a question. Um, so why did Sigmar just dope out, just peace out?
He was content. He just wanted to spend the last, I got parts of his life just exploring. Never really explained.
Yeah, kind of a, character shift, or at least
Yeah.
character development that maybe needs to go more in depth. Because,
Well,
he starts out like wanting to unite the world of men. He thinks he's done it, but then, like, as soon as he leaves, they start squabbling over it.
true, but I guess his faith in humanity was kind of vindicated when the fact that they didn't go to war and
That's
they
true.
decided to peacefully elect.
hmm
I mean, there would eventually become a lot of civil wars because of this. Two big notable ones, but weirdly enough, after his cult, basically, I think it was like 10, 15 years after Sigmar died, some crazy guy in the middle of Reichdorf basically said, "I saw a vision. Sigmar went into the heavens. He was taken by the bear god Ulrich, and made him a god. He joins there with the pantheon of the other gods. Sigmar is now a god. Praise Sigmar." And then he's like, and then the guy started saying, "Yeah, by the way, the empire and its institutions are now by definition divine mandates. So you have to listen to your superiors as their words are literally the heirs of Sigmar, the direct heirs of Sigmar by extension."
Hmm.
So the imperial government at the time is like, "Wait, this religion's basically worshiping the government. We literally have divine
Stonks.
mandate." Exactly. They literally saw like the cha-ching symbol. It's like, "Yeah, this Sigmar was a god. Listen to me on all accounts." And it just grew rapidly from there. One of the things about Sigmar, and the reason why his worship kind of exploded in comparison to Ulrich. Ulrich was like the god of war and like winter and stuff. Like he's not a nice god.
Hmm.
You don't actively worship Ulrich because you want to, but you worship Ulrich because
You
you're
have to.
yeah. Meanwhile, the new Sigmar faith, like Sigmar is a war god too, but he's also the god of order and like nice things, kind of more like Jesus than anything, where he's like different from the all the other pantheons of the old world, where he's like, yeah, don't worry, when you die, Sigmar takes you, and and there's gonna be a heaven and stuff, and it's gonna be great, and people are like, wow, Sigmar really liked us, huh? That's great. Nice god in comparison to a bunch of okayish to dick gods like Ulrich.
Gotcha.
So his faith exploded, supplanted the cult of and became the state church.
Gotcha.
But weirdly enough, despite the Church of Sigmar, eventually becoming the state religion, it never really became totally xenophobic to other religions. As long as you're not worshiping chaos, they'll never really have any beef with you, though they will look down upon you.
Gotcha.
Basically the rest of the world looks down upon the Empire for worshiping Sigmar as like you're a bunch of freaks.
Mm-hmm.
But the title of Emperor also has a sparkling of divinity, as you are considered Sigmar's heir.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
So it's also Sigmar left the. Oh no, there's two different versions. In one version, Sigmar left Galmaraz along with the crown, and then in another version, he took Galmaraz with him. And then when he did, the dwarves just made a replica, not as strong, but just gave it to the Empire, thinking that eventually the humans would forget that that wasn't the original Galmaraz,
Mm-hmm.
which I kind of always found dumb. But I think that's the more official one. But end times lore.
Lovely end times lore.
But now we'll go into end times lore. Basically, I'll go more into detail about the Empire's history, but that's a good prehistory. Like you got the rise of the Empire
Foundation.
through
Mm-hmm.
literal. If this was Stellaris, the rise of the Empire had to go through like 4 different end game threats,
Yep.
crisis events before it was allowed to finally just settle.
Gotcha.
Like, like you got to think about it. There's a reason why people worship Sigmar. Sigmar had to deal with 3 demon invasions, Nagash, and a massive orc war that's bigger than most, if not any orc war in history.
That
On
is
it,
pretty killer.
so yeah, exactly. So there's a reason why people worship him in the end. Well, now we'll get into the end times lore. So Sigmar was stuck in the vortex, basically only able to give out bits and pieces of his power to those
Mm-hmm.
really faithful. But he could never really go crazy. Well, in the end times, Teclis realizes that the war against chaos is futile and that everybody's doomed, so he undoes the vortex, keeping the world alive. And then all the lords of magic basically break off from the vortex and go find their incarnates,
Hmm.
like the person who embodies that specific lore of magic really well.
Interesting.
Carl Franz, I think, got the lore of heavens. No, Sigmar got the lore of heavens because he was already found him when he became a god. He is the lore of the heavens, like stars and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So Sigmar, at that moment when Sigmar was like, basically is like, oh wait, I'm free. I'm out of the vortex. Carl Franz just got his arms ripped off by the Glotkin in Reichdorf after the Nurgle basically took it over.
Ew.
So Carl Franz got his arms ripped off, and the Empire was basically almost dead at that point anyway.
Poor Carl.
After a bunch of yeah, so Sigmar saw that and was like, "Cool, he's the biggest lad around." So Sigmar basically rushed into Carl Franz's body, and literally became Sigmar Reborn,
Hmm.
and basically started possessing Carl Franz's body, and then just started thwacking Chaos armies. Managed to transform
Did he get his arms back?
Reichdorf. Yes, he got his arms back
That's
after he
nice.
rushed in, but Carl Franz was no more.
Oh,
I know. Yeah, as soon as he rushed in, it wasn't like he kind of booted his soul out,
that
or
is
he
kind of
became
sad.
him. There was
Or
implications
is
that
it they
Carl.
like merge?
There's implications for both. End times really didn't give a clear cut answer. At times it was like Carl Franz just had the powers of Sigmar and like knew and could hear him. There were other times Sigmar was like totally in control, and it was definitely Sigmar.
Hmm.
So in the end, by the end book, we know it was
A
Sigmar
little
for
ambiguous.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it was ambiguous at the beginning, and then it just became more clear cut at the end when they realized that they had to give a definitive ending.
Hmm.
Another one of the weird things is they transformed Reichdorf into a city of gleaming white and marble. It just became this gorgeous city, got purged of all of its Nurgle corruption. And then Sigmar basically went to one of the non-asshole-ish vampire counts, Vlad von Karstein. He
Hmm.
was like, "All right, make an alliance. I want an alliance with Nagash. I want an alliance with you. I'll even let Sylvania, aka the
The Wood
province
Elves.
filled of the undead, I will let Sylvania become an official elector count, and you vampires will be giving your own title and seat upon power." Vlad, who always wanted to be emperor, was like, "Deal." So
Very interesting.
that's how Empire and the undead at the end times basically managed to unite.
Hmm.
There were some other shenanigans. Point is,
You wouldn't
we
think Sigmar
eventually
would do that.
the end times was like crazy. Like entire nations were dying.
Yeah.
Skaven were literally at that point in the story. Because I'm skipping a lot of the end times because one day we're gonna do an entire video where I
Hmm.
discuss
But
all like
basically, stuff got real.
yeah, stuff got real hard. This we're basically living through the early part of the end times in the Vermintide
Hmm.
because there was this massive like super holy wall that they erected to keep all of the undead trapped in Sylvania and all
Mm.
the Northmen in the Chaos Wastes. But then stuff happened. It got broken down. Balthazar Gelt became a necromancer for some reason. Nurgle invaded and murdered a shit ton of people. Skaven popped out of every hole, wiped out. Like I think there are more nations that the Skaven and the Greenskins off screen than I can count. But I would literally have to give you an entire Word document. Like
That's okay.
a lot of the old nations were just completely off screen,
Hmm.
one or two lines.
Got it.
Like the dwarves were getting, like I said, we'll talk more about end
Yeah.
times another time. But I'm discussing about the Sigmar parts.
Hmm.
So they eventually learned that in Middenheim there's a third chaos portal, third chaos gate, because
Mm.
there's two at the North Pole and the South Pole,
Yep, I gotcha.
where chaos magic is really just penetrating
Hmm.
everything.
Yeah, the both
They
chaos
find
wastes.
yeah. So eventually found out there's actually a secret portal in Middenheim that the old ones were eventually going to start using to use interstellar gateways. So
Gotcha.
they rush there, they go to defend it because if chaos can open it, basically it's doom of everybody. As they're fighting, Sigmar squares up against Archaon, and it describes in the book like this black just wave is just rushing out, and everybody's falling into it and dying.
Hmm.
So the siege is happening. Every important character of every important race that was alive got teleported there for the final battle. Yeah, lizardmen, orcs fighting it. It was basically everybody fighting against chaos and the Skaven.
Hmm. The final
Just
showdown.
exactly. The high elves, except the high elves, the wood elves, and the dark elves, they were in the forest of Athaloran for their own big like fight because there was another secret like the forest of Athaloran is kind of like its own chaos waste, except it's more dedicated to the elves. And Athaloran's is weird.
Gotcha.
But point is, Chaos was very much interested in Athaloran because it'd be just as good as getting the Middenheim portal.
I see.
So the elves were defending that one.
Hmm.
But basically, the last thing that anybody sees in the world is this all-encompassing blackness just overtaking everything, and Archaon and Sigmar are basically wrestling over Galmaraz as they both fall into the infinite darkness.
Interesting. And that's how the
Yeah,
story ends.
yes, that is how the story ends.
Oh.
Rocks fall, everybody
Oh.
dies.
Oh. Oh. Oh no. That's
Yeah,
that's awful.
the better part is also they forgot about certain characters that were supposed to be in the end times.
Oh,
Like
oh
we don't know
wow.
whatever happened to Skarsnik. Apparently he was supposed to be in the end times, but they apparently forgot that one of the two incarnates of the Orc gods,
Whoops.
was supposed to be a part of the final battle.
Whoopsie.
Yeah, whoopsie. Just, it was so dumb. Just all these
Yeah, it sounds a lot less interesting than at the start of it.
yeah, you think that something as grand as the end times would be awesome. Like, don't get me
Hmm.
wrong, the end time had some cool moments, but a lot of the cool moments happened to the undead. Like everyone else in their lore just got shafted. Except if
Hmm.
you were a Skaven or Chaos fanboy, then I'm pretty sure just the Skaven like soloing 90% of the world while then Chaos slips in through the back and says, and takes the victory condition and says, I did it! I killed the world!
Yeah, that's kind of bleak
Yeah,
and
so
uninteresting.
yeah, so this is where Age of Sigmar begins.
I
So
see.
after wrestling with Archaon in the Infinite Darkness, Sigmar was just flying through space, attached and like holding on to the planet. Like literally just imagine a metal ball flying through space and Sigmar just laying on top of it, going, wow, I lost. Everything we lost. This sucks. I'm sad. I'm so very sad. Why did I have to lose? Why did this all have to happen? Where did it all go wrong? I
Why are we
miss
still
having
here?
people
Just
on
to
it.
suffer.
Yeah, exactly. And then eventually, like sailing for who knows how long, like probably a couple of millennia, he eventually met this star drake named Dracathanith. I don't know how to pronounce it. Dracothian, who might or might not be Celtech.
Interesting.
Like
Wizard
there's
Man
evidence that
tie-in.
he
I
is
like it.
Sotek. Yeah, he's either Sotek or he might be Sotek. So he goes. Apparently, Draconith, his entire purpose is to reset reality after every time it gets wiped out. So Draconith takes Sigmar to the places where the remaining essence of the
Hmm.
winds of magic are, and they basically shape into the realms because it's more like gates, like Odin kind of thing going on.
Uh-huh. Okay, I see.
So all the winds of magic became their own dimensions or realms.
I see.
So Sigmar got there, found a couple souls of humans. It was like, great, this is awesome. I'm going to recreate humanity, recreate all the races. I'm gonna try to see if I can find anybody here that managed to get here, and I'm gonna restart civilization here. There's still hope. So eventually he goes around defeating god beasts, big monsters, recreating humanity. He eventually sets up an Azir, where Azir is basically the Wind of Heavens incarnate. And he's like, "This is great. This is where I could rebuild humanity. This is going to be the spot. This is gonna be great." So he starts going around. One of the first
So this is a
gods,
very like metaphysical thing where he's like forging planets and stuff,
not no the
or
planet. No, it's like
realms
the
are more
realms
like dimensions.
exactly.
Okay.
I can show you a good picture of the realms. Let me show you Sigmar realms. Like because the way you get to each individual realm is through a portal. Here, I posted
Hmm.
it. But yeah, each and every there's different portals connected to individual realms.
Hmm.
When the realm of light is because the way that the sun and night work is when the realm of the light is dominant, it's up in the sky. But when the realm of shadows in the sky, it's nighttime for the realms.
Hmm.
So
I
they're
mean,
like
it still kind
orbiting
of looks like
dimensions.
planets.
They kind of are, but they're flat discs.
Hmm. Okay.
But Azir's the realm of heavens. I keep like the sun thing right there.
Gotcha.
So it's just imagine a nice grass area. It's basically very normal. And there's the all points in the center where all the realms mesh together.
Hmm.
You can get to any realm by going through a realm gate, but you can close it from off from one side to the other. So you need to close them off on both sides in order to keep a gate closed.
I see.
But yeah, Sigmar just basically, after he found Azir and started recreating the human species, uh, one of the gods he finds and starts recreating the pantheon with is Nagash.
He just
See,
loves Nagash for some reason.
yeah, Nagash was trapped under a mountain, calling out for help, hoping somebody would get it off him. Sigmar finds him and starts digging him out before he realizes it, and then when he eventually realizes it's Nagash, Sigmar stops for a moment and goes, "Damn, it had to be you." And Sigmar's like, I don't even know what I'm gonna do. Sigmar's like, I know what you're gonna do. You're gonna help me out. Sigmar's like, fine, whatever. You're one of the first few things I found in these realms that isn't trying to kill me, and I can talk to you. I'll let you out, but on one deal. You join my pantheon, and no, evil undead business. So, and then
Yeah,
Nagash was
I'm
like,
sure that'll work out fine.
yeah, Nagash basically told him to pound sand. He's gonna do his undead stuff, but he'll join the Pantheon and won't attack him. Sigmar's like, good enough. So he
Was
busts
it
out
though?
Nagash. Yeah, he busts out Nagash. Nagash, weirdly enough, stuck to his word. He joined Sigmar's Pantheon. And
I
Sigmar was
mean,
like, all
yeah,
right,
it's just pure benefit to him.
yeah. So Sigmar was like, all right, I have Azir, you have Shaiish, aka the Realm of Death. You go conquer it. That way we can secure our afterlives. And go do your whatever. You could rule it however you want. Nagash was like, all right, bet. And then Nagash went to go conquer the death, eating various other death gods. One wonders why Sigmar didn't, ally with those death gods, but he knew Nagash would eventually win out because Nagash did. He beat out all the other rival death gods.
Hmm.
It's one of the worst decisions Sigmar ever made. I'll say it like we both know it ain't gonna last.
Yeah.
Trusting Nagash is one of the worst things
Hmm.
ever.
Doesn't seem like a great plan.
So then he finds the elven gods and is like, hey, he finds like Teclis and Tyrion who became gods, Malekith who became a god, or he got renamed to Malarian now because he fused with the Shadow Dragon. He
Mm.
found Marathi who wasn't a god but was still allowed to join the Pantheon, and found Alariel the Ever Queen.
So a lot of the gods survived somehow.
No, all the old gods died. A lot of the way that the cycles work is every single time, apparently since time immemorial, where there's every new cycle is basically the heroes of the old cycle become gods of
I
the new
see.
cycle.
Okay. Makes more sense.
Sigmar's technically the only one who was a god before
I see.
the but yeah, like Alariel was just the High Queen of the Elves. Tyrion and Teclis were just bros. They didn't have any official like titles besides Tyrion basically being Alariel's bodyguard. Malekith the Malerion now
Uh-huh.
was just the king of the Dark Elves. Oh, he also found the dwarven leaders, Grungi and stuff, the metal worker.
Hmm.
He basically helped humanity again learn how to forge and stuff.
I see.
Like at this point, the Pantheon just became the Power Rangers, and they really started helping each other. They built massive cities, stabilized the realms. Just Nagash was playing nice and used his undead to actually help be an undead workforce to help build cities. Like the
Mm.
Pantheon was in peace. Everybody was allowed their own little piece of their own little
Hmm.
realm where they could do whatever they want.
I see.
Even the orc gods, Gork and Mork, who in the end times fused to become Gorka Morka.
Oh my god.
So
That's such an orc rename, but go ahead.
yeah, I know it's great. So you know how Sigmar
Hmm.
hated greenskins in Warhammer Fantasy, like really did. He found Gorka Morka and was like, "Hey, join my pantheon." For some reason,
Hmm.
Gorka Morka just started immediately trying to scrap with Sigmar.
Of
And
course.
they go at it for a couple days, big god fight. At the end of it, they both just start chuckling and laughing after having enjoying both of them enjoying the fight, and Gorka Morka agrees to join Sigmar's pantheon. And Sigmar basically has Gorka Morka, you know, go after any other god beasts that are in the realms to go exterminate them or fight any big monsters.
Hmm.
That's how he kept him satisfied and and Gorka Morka's children, the orcs, who's uh, like I'll go into each individual god and how they were either helped or found by Sigmar in their own
Hmm.
video, but some of
Yeah.
these gods had to be saved. I
Seems like
kind of
there's a lot to cover.
yeah, this is the Age of Myth is what it's called in
Hmm.
universe. Age of Myth, all nice and happy, the good times of Age of Sigmar. Then those four celestial tumors discovered the realms. Yeah, the Chaos Gods found the basically found the realms of, and we're like, cool. This seems like a cool place to kick it.
Hmm.
Sigmar is like, oh no, not you four again. Well, he says four, but he doesn't know at this point Slanesh got captured by the Elven gods.
Hmm.
Yeah, Slanesh just got because I'll
Based
go
Elven
into that.
gods.
I'll go more into that another time with the like
Yeah, yeah,
Tyrion and
yeah.
Teclis' story.
Hmm.
But just know, Slaanesh got captured. There was basically little to no elf souls wandering around the realms, so there wasn't big elf populations. Technically, humanity is the oldest civilization or species in Age of Sigmar, or the
I
lizard men.
have to ask. This is gonna be a tangent. Where are my lizard
Yeah,
boys?
they are flying in from outer space.
So
They they
do
just
they
been
have a
in the
realm?
void. No, they basically are the only species who doesn't have a realm, but since they figured out how to make their new temple ships, they can fly to every realm. They can also manipulate the realm gates
Nice.
to to like there was one time like a big chaos force marching through this realm gate hoping to attack Sigmar's forces. The no, it wasn't Mazdamundi. It was Lord Kroak was like, "Oh, that's what you're trying to do." So he redirected the gate so they would get ambushed by a lizardman army, and
Nice.
then reshaped the stars to look like the face of a smiling frog before he nuked them.
Amazing. All right. That's all I need for the tangent.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. They attach their temple shit to the bottom of the realms,
Hmm.
they're the only species who can do that. They're the
I
only
see.
species who's seen the bottom of the realms, but they mostly hang out in Azir in their spaceships,
Okay.
and they they don't Sigmar and them don't really have an accord that much. Like
Hmm.
skink diplomats is basically are the only things like people know about lizardmen. They're like, okay, we know you hate chaos. We know you're not totally enthused about the idea of
Hmm.
Sigmar being a god, but you're helping us. And like that's enough, I guess.
Okay. Cool.
The lizardmen, for their part, really aren't very chatty with the other races unless the skinks are doing it.
Okay. I gotcha. Let's go
But
back
they're a
to
lot more
Sigmar.
proactive in the setting. But yeah. Back to Sigmar. What Sigmar basically did was after Chaos basically found the realms, leading the charge from Chaos was Archaon, the Ever Chosen, Grand Marshal of the Apocalypse. Yes, he got retired.
This guy
Apparently in the down
again.
yeah, apparently in the downtime for those millennia, Archaon got even stronger and had at that point been annihilating other realities.
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
This is just basically a hard reboot of the franchise at this point.
Oh, 100%. With every single member berry they can throw in.
No wonder
Remember
they
this character?
Yeah, I bet that's what happens when you do reboots or stuff like that. But yeah, this is a very big hard reboot.
Yeah,
No
so
wonder you guys like it's very different than Warhammer Fantasy.
exactly. Like it goes full like Warhammer Fantasy was like, you know, somewhat grounded in sci with its magic and stuff. Like Empire
Mhm.
is like your full gunpowder and like steel and magic is a rarity. The average peasant lives like exactly like Renaissance Italy kind of technology.
Mhm.
It isn't fantastical, besides the magic occasionally. Whereas Aegis Samar is like, you're all riding on these flying thundercats that eat and spit out lightning, and they're also on fire. And oh my goodness, there's a big lava monster. Oh my goodness.
That's very extra.
Exactly. So Archaon comes in, basically wipes, beats the ever loving dog water out of Sigmar and the Pantheon.
Mhm.
And Nagash strategically chose this moment to betray Sigmar. Is like, I can handle Archaon on my own. I'm leaving the Pantheon. At this
Nagash
moment,
doing Nagash things.
yeah, at this moment, it was the worst time because there was this thing called the Battle of the Burning Skies, aka the most important battle. Like this was the deciding factor
Is this
whether
like End
order.
Times 2.0?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
So the Battle of the Burning Skies, the most important battle in Age of Sigmar in the prehistory, or in the history, I guess, was the biggest battle,
Mhm.
and Sigmar was so mad that the Gash left the Pantheon at this battle. He took his forces and marched out of the battle to hunt Nagash down.
Oh my.
And Nagash was like, all right, send everything we had him. I thought he was going to fight the Chaos first, but apparently not. He came at us with his own detachment and himself.
Mhm.
Like, they started going at each other. Then one of Sigmar's warriors was like, Sigmar, not to say this is a bad idea or anything, sir, but we kind of need to go back. the dudes we left can't possibly take on Archaon and everything,
Hmm.
and the elves have already abandoned us, fighting their own wars against chaos. And Sigmar's like, oh, I'm coming for you, Nagash, you traitorous bitch. So he just marches off and like loses the battle. At one point, Archaon's like, yeah, fight me, bro. I'm back. Sigmar just throws Galmaraz, but then Archaon did you just attack a shadow clone. So
It's
the
substitution.
exactly, he substitutions and Galmaraz goes flying away. And Sigmar's like, oh god, I don't have my hammer. What am I gonna do? And as they're getting absolutely mulched by Chaos Warriors at this point, he's like, all right, call the retreat. Everyone back through the realm gate. We're going back to Azir. And they're like, sir? He's like, just listen, we can't win. We're done here. So he takes all of his dudes, marches through the realm gate, closes it shut, and spends the next 100 years like going full turtle mode on Azir. And he's
Hmm.
like, all right, humans aren't enough. I need something bigger. I need something better to be able to fight against chaos. And then that's where he creates the
We can rebuild him.
Stormcast. Yeah, that's where they create the Stormcast Eternals, aka
That sounds very TM copyright.
yes, it is. They are basically fantasy space marines with
Oh no.
super gaudy power armor. See, Sigmar realized if he can't beat Chaos Warriors mano to mano, he'll just make warriors you
They
can. So
just
he's basically
decided to merge this in 40K, didn't they?
yes, it was very dumb. I'm still not
They
over it.
went like,
Hates
oh, we like Warhammer Fantasy, but you know what's cooler? 40K. So let's do this thing where we make them the same.
yes. But the thing about Sigmarines is another funny name for the Sigmarites.
Sigmarines. That's funny.
Yeah,
Honestly, that's not a bad name. Like, it's better than, what was it? Stormlandy Tur.
Stormcast,
Oh, jeez.
Stormcast Eternals.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, they.
If your name for a race is more than 5 syllables, you're messed up.
Here, I'll show you what the Gen 1 armor looked like. These are the first official models for the Stormcast Eternals.
Ooh,
They have
those are
Sigmar's death
not
mask and
great.
everything. No, they're not. They eventually got some reworks where they looked actually cool. But like this guy, I think his guy's named Bastion. He looks cool. Still don't like his armor, but at least it got better over time.
Yeah, that's just a space marine.
It is just a space marine. They all have Sigmar's death mask and everything. There's one that looks like Obi-Wan Kenobi.
That's funny.
But basically the way you become a Stormcast is you
Hmm.
have to die. Sigmar in like Azir is always watching at this point because he gave
Hmm.
up on fighting. After he made the Stormcast turn, is like, I'm better off being the commander and leading my forces in the back lines and having my soldiers fight for me than me personally being out there and not being able to do such.
Hmm.
Eventually the Stormcast managed to do through a big like scavenger hunt, managed to find his weapon and give him back Gomraz, which he
Hmm.
gave to this, which I forget the name of the unit, but it might be Carl Franz because there was the first.
Carl.
Yeah, I forget his name. Let me look this up.
Carl's back. Did he like get out of Sigmar through mitosis?
No, it's man, what is his name? It's gonna bother me. He's basically the leader of the Stormcast, the Celestant Prime. There we go.
So that's like a
It
title.
it kind of is since it's not a name. It's not his name, but that's what his. He's basically he. Sigmar gave him Galmaraz to basically be his proxy and everything.
I see.
So the Celestant Prime now is basically flying around with Galmaraz. It also now has a new power where if it hits a Chaos Warrior, but an unwilling Chaos Warrior, like you are corrupted against your will,
Hmm.
it can reforge. It basically purifies you and turns you to the back into just a normal person or even a
That's interesting.
Sigmarine. So yeah, there's a way to purify people now, which wasn't a case in Old Warhammer where you were corrupted, you were corrupted. Now you can. Now you just got to get hit by the Celestial Bunk Hammer,
Yeah.
and then you can be reforged
Age of
back. Here's
Sigmar. So my first impression of Age of Sigmar looks like it has a couple of good ideas, but sprinkled with a bunch of 40K stuff.
yeah, but here's a picture of the Celestin Prime.
I see.
That's possibly Carl Franz in there. So every human that becomes a Stormcast had to have died, but they had to have died fighting chaos and had to have done it bravely. Like you could have been anything. You could have been a baker with like your baking knife, holding up against this like 300-foot tall Giga Chad Chaos Warrior. So long as the fact that you didn't run away and you stood your ground or attempted to fight off that guy, Sigmar's like, okay, I can work with this. So once you die, he grabs your soul, shoves it in a suit of power armor, and hits you with like lightning and magic, and then
Uh-huh.
buffs your soul, and you basically become a golem.
Interesting.
The thing about Sigmarines also is they can't die. Well, they can't perma die. You kill a Sigmarine, their soul shoots out of their armor like lightning, and basically flies back to Azir to be
Hmm.
reforged. Oh, but there's a
It is
problem.
efficient.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
there's a problem with this though. Nagash was utterly mad. He's like, "You soul thief! The realm of the dead belongs to me. How dare you?"
How dare you do what I do, but better.
Not better per se, because what happens is every single time a Sigmarine dies, part of their soul is stripped away from them, and they lose a part of their
Mm,
emotions and like their vitality. So it just constantly leaking because it's Nagash's grasp.
I see.
So a bunch of actions have found a ways to permakill Stormcast. Like Nagash has like a literal continent-sized super jail that he sends the souls of Stormcast that he's managed to basically drag back to Shaiish.
Uh-huh.
Because how dare you? But Storm, like we've read it a couple of times in stories where Stormcast are being dissected to try to find out how to perma kill them or
Hmm.
stop them from regenning. Because the Stormcast will come back. Like there was a story about an orc who killed a Stormcast, kept his helmet. Is like I'm keeping it because I want him to come back for it.
I see.
But this is where the story is basically laid out, or this the beginning, because eventually Azir opened up its gates again. The Stormcast fort came pouring out, and Chaos Warriors were actually on the back foot for like the first time in millennia. And they're like, "What the heck is this?" And the Stormcast, "We are the Stormcast. We are Sigmar's hammer. We have come to retake the realms." Like 90% of the realms have fallen to chaos,
Hmm.
and it's like that last 10% basically fighting against the dying of the light or reaching, which to be fair for Sigmar and the Stormcast, they kind of have. There's been some, they've created these new super cities, like cities the size of continents,
Hmm.
and Dawnbringer crusades. Basically, when these cities get overpopulated, they send out a Dawnbringer crusade to go establish new cities. Like 90% of them end up dying because whatever monsters are out there in the realms or chaos warriors chews them out and then spits out their bones. But they've been building new cities, which is an improvement. And right now, Sigmar has just been, planning his how to continue the war,
Hmm.
because Sigmar, weirdly enough, doesn't want to be a god. His plan is once he defeats chaos and peace reigns, he wishes to completely fuse with the realm of heavens and just become like part of the wind, essentially, just become
He wants an
everywhere.
atheist death.
Not that he definitely views himself as a god, but he wants to become more hands offish and just, I guess, the equivalent of sleep for a god.
I
It's
guess,
hard to
yeah.
describe. He just wants to become the wind of heaven itself and be able to give up miracles and stuff passively and
Hmm.
not have and just have his rest and let
Gotcha.
man decide its own fate rather than having him basically coming around and having to fix everything.
Kind of like what he did in the first
Yeah,
realm,
except
go off into the wilderness.
yeah, he just wants to have humanity be at a state of peace. But last era, currently we're in the era of the beast. Um, Basically, Be'lakor, first demon prince of chaos, managed to create the dark skies, which is basically evil black clouds that shroud an area. And whenever Stormcast Eternal dies, their soul gets sucked up into the black clouds
Hmm.
and they can't be reforged. So Sigmar's panicking, trying to figure out how to fix that. Morathi betrayed Sigmar and annexed the city of Anvilgard and
As they
turned it
do.
into, yeah. I'm gonna be so, can't wait to do Morathi's video. Now that is a card. But yeah, she took over one of his free cities, got him mad. Stormcast had to go and diplomacy with her, which was kind of an insult because at
Hmm.
that point she managed to become a god. She elevated herself to a god, to godhood. And by sending the Celestin Prime, she's like, wait, why isn't Sigmar coming to deal with me to negotiate? He's like, Sigmar has better things to do. She's like, I'm a god. How dare you? He's like, are you gonna negotiate or not? And she's like, fine. He's like, Sigmar will let you keep the city for now, on on only one condition. You still have to keep fighting chaos. She's like, deal. But like Sigmar's seething. Like he's like,
Mm-hmm.
that traitor. I'm gonna. Why is everyone turning traitor? Just make the Pantheon again. Chaos is still
All I
here.
wanted to do was love you all.
Man, that's basically where he's at. Sigmar is a god fighting against
Mm-hmm.
90% of the world. Every other god from every major species is off doing their own thing,
I
but are
see.
coming back together. The reason why it's called Age of Sigmar is because the way the ages work is like it's big events. Like the ages, there was first the Age of Myth where all the good stuff happened. It was the Age of Chaos where Chaos was winning for a couple millennia.
Mm-hmm.
Age of Sigmar, where Sigmar and his Stormcast basically are retaking the realms, and though not that well because they only have
I mean,
10%
I
of the
thought it would be
realms.
Age of Sigmar because he, formed the 9 realms or whatever.
He just went to where it was, and then we're at the Age of the Beast currently, where a god of destruction that got basically he's the last member of his species that got wiped out by
Mm-hmm.
Sigmar and his dragon buddies. By the way, Draconith or possibly Shotek, if you want to consider him that,
Mm-hmm.
is still buddies with Sigmar and hangs out in the realm of heavens with him,
That's
Azir.
pretty dope.
And basically, as Sigmar boosted out his own children, the Stormcast, Draconith was like, wait, that sounds pretty dope. Let me back you up, Sigmar. So he gave birth to his own children, which are the Star Drakes and the dragons.
Nice.
So basically, every single time you see a Stormcast Eternal riding a dragon, it's multi. Yeah, we're bros. So
That's a
that's where
nice
Sigmar
match.
is. Yeah, that's where Sigmar is in the story, sitting on
Oh,
his
cool.
golden throne, seeing the realms, reminiscing about the good old days.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of sad.
It is a little sad, but
So
very
anything you?
interesting nonetheless. No, I
Yeah.
think you pretty much covered it all. My other
All right.
questions would be probably about the lizard men, but that's definitely something we could do on another video.
Another video indeed.
We had plenty of tangents this time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
we've been recording for like over an hour. This is gonna be a long episode.
yeah, but Sigma, we covered 3 different settings, or
Hmm.
I guess 2, but yeah. Next video is gonna be an easier video for because my throat needs it.
Okay, yeah. All right. Well,
Uh,
thanks everybody for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and we'll see you on the next video.
have a good one.